Welcome to another edition of Into a New Frontier for Valley City State University. It's time to catch up with what's happening at the athletic department of Valley City State as we get ready to move into that brand new conference with the Frontier calling. And the Frontier is definitely calling. Every week that goes by gets us a little bit closer to some competition that will happen out in the Frontier Conference, and a very exciting and new development for Valley City State that's going to be happening over the next handful of years that we'll have, and it'll be fun to watch it develop. Dennis McCulloch is the athletic director at Valley City State University, and he's joining us once again to have another conversation about what's gone on over the last week and what will be going on coming up into the future. Coach, I'm going to assume that there haven't been a lot of brand new developments as far as what's gone on in the last week, but we're certainly getting ready for a brand new development next week. Groundbreaking set to go for the new athletic building. That's just days away, and you've got to be awfully excited about seeing some work actually get going and some dirt getting turned, and the future of Valley City State's footprint when it comes down to an athletic building really changing coming up next week.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very exciting, and the impact that we know a new facility like that can make to us is it's hard to put into all the words of when you start to think about it and the positive things it can bring. And we've waited a long time to get into some additions to our athletic facility. And the Osmond Fields House has served us really well over the years, but there's definitely some needs and pieces for growth and that we've needed. It's no question a much needed new facility that will allow us to grow and continue to grow um, in our athletic department.
You know, you had spring football not that long ago, and that's one of the ways that you kind of wrap up a year at Valley City State. And we know that spring football can bring a lot of challenges in North Dakota. So, from a standpoint of helping a program develop, being able to put those 10, 15, 20 days, whatever it is, indoors, have turf, and actually attack it that way, we really can't overstate how important that is for you, can we?
Yeah, I mean, there's the things that I look at just specifically to football. You think of when you can't go outside, right? Is when you have an alternative facility like this to be able to know that, hey, we can always practice.
That groundbreaking is going to be a big event coming up this coming week at Valley City State, and obviously it changes the footprint on what the athletic facilities are going to look like. It affects football, obviously. There's a turf facility in there. It'll do more than just affect football, but it will give us an opportunity to see some practices and things like that inside. As we get into a new conference season about football, there's a lot of things that we don't really know about football when it comes down to the Frontier, specifically how it works, how it is that teams qualify for the playoffs, and how it is that we determined our schedules. So we'll dive into that a little bit more today. Obviously, there's a number of teams for football that are going to be in the Frontier. We understand there are two divisions, and we know that the NAIA has some rules about how those automatic playoff berths are awarded if you have divisions. So, could you walk us through kind of what the race is going to be? How does a team qualify for the playoffs in this two division Frontier Conference front?
Yep. So if we look at you have the East division and you have a West division of the Frontier, and when you start to look at the east side of it, we've joined with Rocky Mountain, Montana Tech, and Northern Montana with the four playing schools, football playing schools, and Dickinson, us, Mayville, and Dakota State. And so um, within our east side, we have six teams, and that allows us 17s. But that allows us to, right, have enough to have an automatic qualifier because you need minimal six. So we're counted as a conference. They've separated us, so we are East Frontier, which is a separate conference from the West Frontier, and they have the same opportunity. So whoever wins, once we play within our division, right, our east side, our conference, whoever wins that east conference will have the automatic qualifier. No matter what our record is, no matter what that piece, if you win the conference on the east side, you would have an automatic qualifier. The same thing would happen on the west side, and so as we we would go forward, what you would, I'm sure if they would hope, we all hope, is that there may be your second team in your conference, um, that would also have the ability to qualify. Now they'd have to be ranked in the top 25 to be able to be even, looked at or be selected. But that would be your opportunities, and within uh, for us to be able to qualify.
So in the long run, each division gets its own berth, no matter what you did against the other division.
Yes. Yep. Doesn't outside non-conference records, in the sense, if you win your conference, none of those other things, your really overall record is not going to matter anymore. Don't have to be ranked. It used to be you had to be ranked in the top 20, top 25 to get to get an automatic qualifier. Well, that's out now. That there's no more of that piece. If you win your conference, you're in, and that's where you looked at this year. There's a team in the national playoffs that was, had won 6 games, 5 games, but won their conference. Pikeville, I think, was the team, and no matter, I didn't matter what their record was, they qualified through a conference championship.
And so in the long run, you get some teams in there that might not qualify for a conference championship, but are still going to be pretty good. There's some good football playing conferences out there. They've got to be licking their chops about the idea of having an extra opportunity to get in.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's I think the frontier piece. They really took the North Star. If you kind of think about it, we had an automatic qualifier, and the Frontier had one the last year, right? So by adding us to the larger good of the Frontier, um, we gave them now an extra opportunity, right? An extra automatic qualifier, and I think that's, when we start to look at it, for us, it's instead of call it the North Star, where we have the automatic qualifier, we're just calling it the East Frontier, and now we have that same opportunity within that piece to qualify.
All right. Well, let's talk about your opportunities to do that, because we've talked a bit about how this thing breaks down. Now we want to transition into how this thing looks for the Vikings coming up this year and some specifics. So you had spring football, and you found out, I think you and I have visited about this, you don't have any quarterbacks when you came out of that, or at least none of the two that played for you last year. They both have moved on. One graduated, one decided to move on. So you had to hit the recruiting trail and really get something started behind center this year. I think you felt pretty good about it. Brought in a high school recruit, brought in a junior college player. Tell me a bit about how that situation sorted itself out and how you see that playing out when you start practice in August.
Yeah, I would tell you that we still have an unknown, at that, at the quarterback spot. I um, you know, we, Kari Rennie came in this spring as a transfer, and was here this spring and got a chance to see him through spring ball. Um, and Ethan Kastner is also here as a freshman out of Washington. Um, I think both guys have some positive pieces, but there's not a kind of confirmation of like, hey, we know this is, would be our guy for next fall. And so there's still some unknowns. And I think we're still, definitely, have been out looking and as the opportunity for a transfer to come in and come and compete. It doesn't mean that, one of those guys couldn't play and couldn't, win the starting job. I just think that for our side of it, we still are having to want to look and bring somebody else in to compete, with our quarterback room. I think the biggest thing when you lose two guys that have basically rotated and started for the last 4 years, I mean, I think there's some nervousness now for us is to find the right person, and as we go forward in that position, and you have to fill the room with some quality guys that have done it if we can, right? Somebody that's been on the field before, and it's gives us maybe the best opportunity to compete this year if we could find that person. So that's where we're at today, and don't have all the answers yet, but I think we're really the surrounding cast. Whoever our quarterback is going to have a very, very good surrounding cast to him, and that's going to help a lot.
We'll talk more about that surrounding cast coming up in just a bit. I know the last couple of years, you're a defensive guy, and where your defense has been in a bit of a struggle is trying to find that run stopper, that ability to stop the running game. I know that that's been something that you've been frustrated about. You've had good pieces, but whether they've stayed healthy or just found the right way to do it has been a bit of an issue for you. So, did you have to address that in recruiting? Did you feel like you had the pieces to come back and try to make a better impact against other teams' run games? How did you handle that in the offseason?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I will tell you, you can still circle the two inside guys that we need in our when you're running a four man front. Um, the really the guys that make a huge impact in the run game or your nose and your tackle. The two interior defensive linemen and in those guys have to create double teams, right? Because they're really good and they want to, those guys want to they get double teamed. They got to hold their ground so they don't get washed and pushed back into linebackers, which then creates better flow for your linebackers to go make the play. And if they're not getting double teamed, they better be able to create havoc, right? That they can make some plays and create the play to go not north and south. That's go bounce, right? So it in a four man front, those guys are extremely important and they're hard to find because everybody wants them who plays a four man front. They just you're looking for big guys who are physical and can move well, and then they're just big athletic guys are in demand for every football team. So we're still looking. I think we have some solid guys that within our football team right now that can contribute, but there's definitely a need for an interior defensive lineman that can rise and I think do some of those things that we're looking for. So we have to Quez Chapman returning. He was an elite defensive lineman. He's our tackle, right, that plays the over the guard more than he plays over the center, and the nose guard is that guy that plays over the center between the center and the guard. But Tequez is definitely a one of the top players in our conference and defensive lineman, and that's not a question. And we expect a lot out of him, but we definitely want to look to add somebody else in the middle.
How about some players that may not have come back? I know that the Magnejos had been around, and there were some questions about whether or not they would make it back. They were certainly impact players. You lost some players due to graduation as well on the defensive side that were very, very good, but you had some players step up as young players last year on the defensive side. It seems like everybody on this Viking team last year was a senior or a sophomore. You just had some experience, or you had
So,
some youth that you were fighting through. So tell us a bit of how that sorted itself out.
yeah, Agios, graduated. Georgie graduated. He was 4 year guy for us. Georgia, both of them were
I didn't
really
realize
playing.
that. Sorry,
Both
coach.
of them, no, you're all right. Both of them were 4 year guys. Georgia could come back, but I think he just decided he's going to go on with his career and be done with his brother. They're twins, and so in the sense of that they were arrived at the same time, could have completed all at the same time. I think they just decided that was how they're going to finish it up. So those pieces were no question those guys are going to be missed. They're the things that they brought to us and the things that they added are no question that a huge piece to us. And just like every year, you got to go back in and look at trying to find guys to replace and how are you going to do that? And those are two guys that are really challenging because they are both very good. So again, that's our work right now is to try to figure that piece out. The again, you know, we've had some good young guys in our program that have been here now, and now it's their time to try to to rise up. Armani Smith out of Beulah, he's been here now, and this is his third year in our program. It's had some chances and opportunities, but it's really his chance to step up and make an impact. And uh, uh, you know, uh, Caleb Zedlick, the same thing. Taryn Larson. I mean, we have a group of good young guys that have been in our program for several years now, and now it's their time to kind of take the rise up and meet that piece. So we're going to see where all this comes out for us. And we have a lot of defensive linemen, right? So you have a lot of guys that can. I mean, we probably were at spring ball with 16 defensive line, which is more than we've ever had. So there's a lot of guys there. Now we just got to find the right guys who can be productive and do the things that we're going to ask them to do. So
You had mentioned that whoever ends up being your quarterback is going to have a great supporting cast around them. And I know that you've looked for quite some time to find some guys. We lost a couple of running backs here the last couple of years that were impact guys. You started to build some wide receivers and certainly some great tight end depth. So tell us a bit about what that supporting cast for whomever ends up being the quarterback is going to look like.
yeah, I mean, I think the my best friend of a quarterback is number one going to be run game. So our offensive line, the pieces there that we're excited that Taylor Jones is going to be back. Taylor was out all of last year as our starting center and didn't get a chance. At the end of spring or end of summer, he tore his Achilles out all of last year. He should be ready to go by the time we start fall camp in his recovery. He's a huge piece for us at the center spot. um, you know, Jonah Larson, Tommy Cox. I mean, we've had a lot of guys now who've been playing, who've done this for a lot of time, a lot of years, and I think the offensive line is you know, I our hopes that we've improved and solidified some of those pieces. Brought in a couple transfer kids this spring that both have done a really good job, and hope to see those guys step up and play a little bit next year and take on some roles. And because it doesn't, we can have a great scheme, we could have great talent at all the spots, but if our offensive line can't protect, if we can't create holes and seams, none of those other pieces are going to matter. So those are the things that are very important for us to make sure those guys are be able to do the things they need to do. um, you know we're running back wise, we'll bring back some really good and talented kids that can play there, and June's one of them. He was a freshman last year, and our problem with June is he's got to stay healthy, and Lagaris Marshall, but June's his nickname, and but you know. He's very talented and can do a lot of really great things. But again, he's been injured and not really seen the full, his full potential. Uh, you know, Kayu Nishigawa, he's back. He'll be a senior next year. He's added a lot of good roles for us. Marty Gone. I mean, we have, when you start to look at great depth in the running back room, and now those guys have to rise and their ability to the things that we need them to do, and what our expectations of them are pretty high, and we're going to need them. So those are, I think, our key spots. Our receiving core is back intact. I mean, Dominic Sotomayor, Jake Deutsch, right, Xavier Westbrook. I mean, those three guys all started for us and all talented guys. They all come back, and then we have some really good depth behind them that we're excited for us to see who rises and gets can also push those guys and get on the field. And I think there's some really positive pieces there that people are going to see for next fall that we're excited about.
People forgot, and I forgot until I was just speaking with you here, Coach, that last year the offensive line that you put on the field, quality guys that had almost no experience. I mean, they were really learning on the job last year. And did you see those players taking steps? Because that's the important thing. It's not just about lack of experience, but are they picking up the game skill that they need to pick up in order to take that jump? You sound pretty optimistic about that group coming back.
Yeah, I mean, I feel very good about it. I think another year, and I can't to to try to explain to people how much a center means to an offense. And well, you just pop a new guy in there, but you're talking about, I know if you understand football, like like your two tackles are extremely important, but your center calls everything up front. He's the guy that runs everything, and then also, okay, you're gonna have to snap and then block somebody instantly. Somebody's over the top of you right now, can create. You don't have a great center if you don't have that guy. Like there's so many issues to that are created by it, and so mean, just having Taylor back in itself will be amazing positive for that offensive line and help everybody else in that piece of it. So, excited to like I said, excited to have him back because I know what his level of play is and what he's done and proven, and it's just going to help everybody else, right? In all those aspects. So, I'm definitely feel like we're going to take a better step offensive line wise and in the direction we're going, and so we're excited about that piece.
You'll find out fast, won't you? Dickinson, Augsburg, Eastern Oregon. Um,
Yep.
you could have found a different way to go to start the season, but I guess that's a way to go, huh?
Yep. Yeah, that's exactly right. We be tested early. We will be tested early, and that's what I try to share with our guys is like, um, we really circle the Dickinson game to measurement, right? Where are we at? And they're a team that's been the best team for the last 10 years. Like, that's the reality, and uh, you say you want to be that type of team. You have to beat the best. You have to measure yourself against them, and that game only means doesn't mean anything as far as our abilities to go win a conference championship, to go to the playoffs. It just is going to be a measuring stick of where we're at and the level of play that we're at, and gives us a good, from whatever, win or lose that game, it's going to give you a direction where we need to go and in the continued level that we need to play at.
Coach, as we start to wrap up, tell us what else, if there's something that we don't know to ask about, that we should keep our eyes on as far as Viking football this year. Something new, something different. We know to ask about the position players, and we know to ask about kind of how the schedule lines up and that type of thing. But what might be new or different for us that stands up off the page for Vikings fans this year?
I think some of the undercover things people won't see is, Dustin York moved from the offensive coaching the offensive line. He's our offensive coordinator. He's moving to coach quarterbacks and wide receiver room, and we hired Raynor Byerly to be our offensive line coach, and which is, I think it's a little nervous on my side of it, because I know how good of coach that Dustin is as an offensive line coach. He played offensive line. He has really a great coach and skill level to do it, and has done a fantastic job with them. But I think, as an offensive coordinator, he feels like he needs to spend more time with the quarterbacks and get to be in a solid page with them on the things that he wants them to see and do within his offense. And so it's a transition, and it's definitely going to be a big change for us in the offense, but we're excited. I think spring ball went really well. I think our guys are embracing it and understanding it. And I think we joke a little bit about it. If you look at our staff, we're all offensive. We basically, everybody here has played offensive line. I'm not sure if that's where that puts everything in the greater scheme, but I kind of joke, everybody that joins our staff, you got to play offensive line, but there's some excitement in that side of it. I think that's going to change some dynamics for us, and I think in a positive way. And we're going to see. Raynor right now has done a great job through the things that we're asking him to do, and just to a program and the work ethic it takes to coach and do the things that we want. He's been impressive, and so we're excited about the future.
When does it get started, Coach? When do the players report back, and how much time do you have left before you start a season?
Well, we started workouts, so some of our guys are back. We probably have 25 guys now. We're lifting here in town, and then we start to ask guys to start to come back in July and do their workouts here, and then we do some individual stuff. And so, I mean, the college football right now, and in any college athletics, it's 12 months a year. I mean, there's no real downtime. I mean, if you're thinking you're going to take 2 months off, you're going to lose all that stuff you've done, how hard you work to to get yourself to be in a great shape. But if you stop working out, you start to look like me, which is not a good thing. And you're
Me
not going
too,
to
Coach.
play.
Put my
You're
hand
not
up
you're
under
not
there.
actually gonna you're not actually gonna step on the field and play. And so you have to maintain your level of discipline, to be able to be in great shape and give yourself an opportunity to be successful when you're playing. And so that's the challenge for us and the players, is to continue the same efforts, whether they're day to day in school and doing these things, or they're now in summer and they have another job where they still have to have the daily discipline to go up and do their workouts and do the things that they need to do to be successful. So, and if we stop doing that, we're going to be in trouble. Like they're not going to come back in great shape, and it's going to take them a long time to get themselves into level to play college football. So, we just the expectations changed a lot here, and what we'd ask our guys to do, and the things that their commitment levels that they have to do. And so anyway, that's where it really continues to go. We'll start to see more guys coming back in July, and then we have a mini camp late July that we bring back all of our returners, and kind of give them. We have one more evaluation period with those guys, and then we give a little break, and then we start fall camp.
All right. Well, Coach, I'm getting excited. I think you're getting excited as well. It's time to go play a game, isn't it? Well, maybe not yet. Let's
yet.
Relax.
We get a little time. We get a little time to put all the pieces together yet. So
absolutely. Coach, thanks a lot. We'll talk to you again really soon.
Appreciate it, Ryan.
Dennis McCulloch, the head coach of Viking football and the athletic director at Valley City State University, joining us for another edition of Into a New Frontier. We'll be back again coming up next week. Thank you for joining us today.